I can't pinpoint the exact moment when my marriage stopped being about love and became a mere obligation, but I can remember the precise instant it all fell apart. It was a quiet Sunday evening, the kind where families gather for a casual dinner, the table set for roast chicken and light chatter. Evelyn, my wife, had prepared her famous honey garlic chicken, something she hadn't made in months. She even wore the navy blue dress I bought her years ago, the one she'd wear when she wanted me all to herself. That alone should have tipped me off that something wasn't right. She hadn't looked at me like that in years. We sat down to eat and it almost felt like everything was normal. We laughed, talked about our daughter Lena's upcoming college orientation, and I teased Evelyn about the burnt bread edges. But then Evelyn set her fork down, wiped her lips with a napkin and met my gaze. "I need to tell you something and I want you to really listen," she said. The tone in her voice made my stomach tighten, not out of fear but something colder, something I couldn't quite place but would never forget. "I ran into Damien, my ex-fiancé," she said. Damien, the man she had been engaged to before me, the one who had left her to marry a woman twice his age. I knew his name because once, years ago, I overheard her say it in her sleep. I never told her I'd heard. "He's back in Clearwater," she continued, her voice controlled. "His wife passed away last year from cancer. We talked at the alumni fundraiser. Just talked." I stayed silent, staring at her, waiting for more. "We've met a few times since then. Coffee. Just catching up." I couldn't say anything, so I just stared at her, trying to absorb what was happening. Then she said something that shattered whatever was left of our bond. "I love you, Cole. You've been everything to me." But I realized something I didn't want to admit. I still love him too. My fork hit the plate with a soft clang. Evelyn reached across the table, her fingers brushing mine gently. "I want to stay married to you," she said. "But I also want to see where things go with him. Maybe we can alternate weeks. 1 week with you, then a week with him. Just until I figure things out. It's only fair." Fair. Only someone who had never been torn apart by the person they trusted most could say that so easily. I stood up, not in anger but quietly, with a strange sense of calm, as if something I'd suspected was finally confirmed. "No," I said simply. "Please," she whispered. I looked at her, the woman I had spent 2 decades with, the mother of my child, the woman who used to cry when I kissed her forehead after a long shift, now asking me to share my love. "You want 2 husbands?" I asked, almost amused. "But I'm not one for sharing." She seemed stunned. "So that's it?" "No," I replied, "that's just the beginning." What she didn't know, what Damien didn't know, was that I was far better at tearing people apart than they were at pretending to care. That night, I kissed Lena goodnight like everything was normal, then went to my office, locked the door, and pulled out an old notebook where I had once made notes on sociopath profiling. But this time I wasn't profiling a suspect. I was making a list, and Evelyn Hartman had just become my case. The next morning, Evelyn made breakfast as if nothing had changed, as if we hadn't just had the conversation of a lifetime the night before. She wore a robe I had bought her for our 10th anniversary, humming as she flipped pancakes. Her calmness unnerved me. I ate in silence. When I finished, I stood up, kissed her forehead, and said, "I'm filing for divorce. I'd like to do it amicably. Let me know if you'd like to go through mediation." Her spatula froze midair. "You're serious?" she asked softly. "I am," I replied. Her face fell. "What about Lena? She'll be heartbroken." I looked her in the eye. "She deserves to know who you are now, rather than figuring it out in therapy 20 years from now." That hit her harder than I expected. Good. I left, got into my truck, and drove straight to Sabrina Stone, the best family lawyer in Clearwater. She was quiet but ruthless, and her clients often ended up with more than they'd asked for. I'd helped her once with a stalker case and she never forgot that favor. "You want war or peace?" she asked, scribbling notes. "Peace," I replied. "That feels like war." She smirked. "Perfect." And just like that, we got to work. Evelyn made countless attempts to contact me, texts, calls, even showing up at my office. The first time, I let her sit in the lobby for 20 minutes before my secretary politely asked her to leave. She lingered outside for an hour. I didn't go down to meet her. When Lena called that night, she could sense something was off in my voice. I told her everything and she went silent. "Tell me you're lying," she said. "I'm not," I replied. I could hear the sob in her throat before she spoke again. "Mom wants to rotate husbands." "Is she sick?" "No," I answered, "she's just selfish." Lena hung up. Later that evening, Evelyn called in a panic. Lena blocked me. "What did you say to her?" she demanded. "The truth," I told her. You made me sound like a monster, she snapped. I said nothing. You're destroying this family, I replied coldly. No, Evelyn, you are, and I hung up. Weeks passed and the divorce proceedings began. I requested full control of the house until the situation was resolved. Evelyn tried to counter by claiming it was marital property. Sabrina managed to find the original mortgage paperwork, and it turned out that I had used an inheritance from my late father as the down payment. Evelyn hadn't contributed a dime. That tipped the scales in my favor. But I didn't just want to win legally. I wanted to win psychologically. I came up with a plan, not to hurt Evelyn but to haunt her. I wanted to give her exactly what she had asked for. One morning I called her and said, "You know, I've been thinking. I miss you. I miss us. Maybe we could try your idea, the week-on week-off thing." There was a pause. "Are you serious?" she asked, barely able to contain her excitement. "I am," I replied. She cried with relief. "Oh my God, this means the world to me. I want to see you both tonight. Let's talk." We agreed to meet at her favorite wine bar, the place where I first asked her to marry me. This time Damien came too. He looked smug, like a man who believed he had outsmarted a cop. Evelyn held his hand proudly as if he were a trophy. "I want to agree to the arrangement," I said, "but I need clarity. I want to know what I'm walking into." Damien chuckled. "What's not to understand? We're both in Evelyn's heart. She gets to love both of us. Isn't that beautiful?" I nodded slowly. "Let me ask you something, Damien. If your late wife came to you with the same offer, to share herself with her ex, would you have accepted it?" His lips thinned. "That's different." "Is it?" I smiled. Then I turned to Evelyn. "And you? If I brought back my ex and asked you to share me, would you have welcomed her into our bed?" Evelyn hesitated. "If it made you happy, yes." Her lie was so clean, so confident, it almost impressed me. I leaned back in my chair. "Okay, let's do this." Over the next 2 weeks, I put on the greatest performance of my life. Evelyn came back to me wide-eyed and eager. I played the devoted ex-husband, cooking for her, dancing with her in our kitchen, laughing at her old jokes. We made love like we were 25 again. She melted into me every night, trying to forget Damien existed. And I recorded everything, every kiss, every whisper, every confession, every time she said she wished we'd never split. When her week ended and she returned to Damien, I sent him a private link to the footage. No words, just the video. An hour later, Evelyn called me, sobbing hysterically. "What the hell did you do?" she screamed. "He saw everything. He said he's leaving me." "Then I guess you're all mine again," I said coldly. "Exactly what you wanted." She begged me not to do this, but I hung up. Weeks passed. The silence after that call was louder than any scream Evelyn could have made. She didn't call back that night, maybe because she knew she'd already lost control, or maybe because she was with Damien, trying to piece together the shattered illusion. It didn't matter. My goal wasn't to win her back. It was to unmask her, to make her live in the chaos she thought she could control. By the end of the week, she called again. Her voice was quieter now. "He's gone," she said. "Congratulations, Cole." "I didn't mean to hurt you, either of you," she added. "But you did," I replied calmly. "Because deep down you thought you could be loved by both and never lose either. You thought you were special." There was a long silence before she spoke again. "I still love you," she whispered. "And yet, you let another man unzip your dress while wearing my ring," I said. She broke down, admitting her mistake. "I see that now. Please, let's try again." "Oh, sweetheart," I whispered, my voice sharp as a scalpel. "We are trying again. You'll still get a week with me. You said you'd be my wife half the time. So be it. But now I'll define the rules." I smiled darkly. "You want to continue?" "No," I said with a chuckle. "I want to use you." Her breath hitched. "I want you to feel everything I felt. The confusion, the rejection, the silence after 17 voicemails go unanswered. The ache when the person you share a child with says they want someone else, and you're in the same bed. Cole, you'll come to me every other week. You'll do the shopping, the cleaning, the cooking, the wife duties you wanted to split between 2 homes. But you'll only get me, and you'll never know if I still love you or if I'm just keeping you warm out of revenge." "Why are you doing this?" she sobbed. "Because you turned me into someone I no longer recognize, and I want you to meet him." The next few months were a calculated performance. Evelyn arrived at my apartment every other Monday, suitcase in hand and a forced smile on her face. She cleaned my floors, folded my laundry, cooked dinners like it was 2010 again. She tried to reclaim something that no longer existed. I never said, "I love you." I never kissed her first. But I touched her, held her, made her laugh when I wanted, and made love to her like a man starved. Then I rolled away like a stranger. It was war disguised as affection. I was the battlefield. She was the soldier without a map, and she was losing. Lena knew everything. I kept her close, fed her the truth in digestible doses. At first, she hated what I was doing. "You're just like her now, Dad," she said. "I'm worse," I told her, "because I'm not lying." Over time, though, Lena began to understand. She saw her mother desperate and unraveling. She witnessed the power shift, and part of her, the wounded part, quietly approved. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. Damien came back, not for Evelyn but to destroy her. Apparently, he had been fired from the real estate firm he managed. Word spread that he had engaged in unethical conduct with a client, a wealthy widow who happened to be the mother of a state senator. Damien lost his license, his connections, and his lifestyle. And who did he blame? Evelyn. He showed up at her apartment 3 weeks after being served with a restraining order by his former firm. Drunk, unshaven, screaming through the hallway like a madman. "You're poison," he roared. "You ruin everything you touch." Evelyn called me in a panic. I could hear the fear in her voice, the same edge of hysteria that used to surface only when Lena had a fever. "Cole, he's here. He's outside. He's screaming. I don't know what to do." "You'll be okay," I said calmly. "Call the police." "I'm scared," she cried. "I know, but I need you. Like I needed you that night. You told me you wanted 2 men in your bed." Click. I didn't go to her. She was safe. The police came and Damien was removed. But Evelyn knew then for the first time that I wasn't hers anymore, not even for revenge. That weekend she came to my apartment early. No suitcase, no makeup, just a woman hollowed out by the man she thought would save her. "I'm not doing this anymore," she said softly. "I can't." I nodded. "I understand. I still love you. I believe you." She moved toward me as if to kiss me, but I stepped back. "No," I said. "Why?" she asked, breathless. "Because the man you cheated on is dead," I replied. "In his place is someone you made." She took a deep breath, her voice breaking. "I will," she whispered. "But I'll never stop hoping. And I'll never stop remembering. That was the last night we touched." She walked out with tears in her eyes. No parting kiss, no promises, just silence. The kind of silence that people carry for the rest of their lives. After Evelyn's final departure, there was a peculiar silence. It wasn't peaceful or victorious, but rather a strange emotional hum, buzzing low beneath my skin. It reminded me that I hadn't simply won, I had ended something. I threw myself into my work at the department, reopening a cold case about a triple homicide that had haunted the town for years. I spent endless hours going through forensic files, security footage, and timelines, dissecting the lies with the same precision I had applied to my marriage, piece by piece, until only the harsh truth remained. My team noticed the shift in me. I was sharper, more focused, and less forgiving. One of the rookies asked me one night after a long stakeout, "You okay, Chief?" I lied, replying, "I'm better than I've ever been." But inside I knew this: revenge comes at a cost. It strips you of softness, spontaneity, and the ability to trust. I hadn't just punished Evelyn. I had rebuilt myself into a version of Cole Hartman who didn't flinch, didn't love. Then one afternoon, Sabrina, my lawyer, called. "You might want to sit down for this," she said. "What is it?" I asked. "Evelyn's filed a civil suit," she replied. "She's suing you for emotional distress." I couldn't believe it. "You're kidding." "I wish I were." "She claims you manipulated her into an emotionally abusive post-divorce arrangement, which aggravated her pre-existing anxiety and caused significant trauma." I laughed bitterly. "Her documentation's weak," I said. "But she's banking on public sympathy, the betrayed woman who lost her way and was manipulated by her bitter ex. She wants the arrangement." "It was her idea," I said coldly. "I have proof." Sabrina paused. "But she's desperate. People do insane things when desperation becomes who they are." "Let her come," I said. "I'm not scared of what she'll say. She should be scared of what I'm willing to reveal." A month later, the hearing was set. It was a closed-door deposition to determine if the case had any merit. Evelyn arrived late, looking fragile yet calculating, dressed in a beige sweater, minimal makeup, and her hair in a loose braid, trying to project an image of innocence. Her lawyer, Calloway, a smug opportunist, tried to rattle me with a smile as fake as his suit. Evelyn wouldn't look at me, and I felt indifferent to her avoidance. The deposition began, and Sabrina was ruthless, calm, composed, and precise in her approach. She presented timeline logs, text messages, and emails from Evelyn, all of which described our arrangement as mutually healing. But what truly dismantled Evelyn's case was the footage. Videos I had recorded with her permission during our weeks together, not for revenge, but to prove to myself that I wasn't imagining the absurdity of it all. One clip sealed the deal. Evelyn sitting in my kitchen in a nightgown, smiling as she said, "I've never felt this loved by both men. This is my dream come true." The silence that followed was deafening. Even Calloway looked shaken. The judge dismissed the case quickly, labeling Evelyn's complaint as frivolous and unsupported. Outside the courthouse, she finally approached me, her eyes wet with tears. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "For what?" I asked, unmoved. "Lying? Suing me? Or still trying to manipulate me?" Her eyes filled with regret. "For being the worst version of myself with the only man who never deserved it." I studied her, this woman who once held my heart and crushed it with a smile. "You weren't the worst version of yourself," I said. "That would have required honesty." She stood there, trembling, until I turned and walked away. Life didn't return to normal after that. I wasn't the same man, and there was no normal to return to. But life moved on. Lena graduated that spring and invited both of us, though she asked we not sit near each other. Evelyn arrived in a modest dress, her eyes red. I stayed 3 rows back. When Lena's name was called, she looked only at me. That was enough. Later that summer, I began hiking again, joining a community group focused on trail cleanups and environmental outreach. It wasn't about starting over. I didn't believe in clean slates. It was about becoming someone new, someone not defined by what had been taken from me. Then one night, I received a call from Detective Miles, one of my newer guys. "We picked up Damon Reyes again for a DUI. You want to process him?" I almost said no, but curiosity got the better of me. I walked into the holding cell to see him bloated, bloodshot, and broken. "I guess you got the girl after all," he sneered. "No," I replied simply. "I got myself back." "You think you're better than me?" he spat. "No," I said as I walked away. "I know I am." 2 years passed. Long enough for the wounds to heal, long enough for the whispers in the town to stop, the ones about the cop whose wife wanted 2 husbands. Long enough for Evelyn's name to stop appearing in my inbox, my voicemails, or my thoughts. Or so I believed. I had moved to a smaller house on the outskirts of Clearwater, overlooking the valley, quiet, modest. I planted a vegetable garden, took long evening walks, and kept to myself. The department had offered me a promotion downtown, a political role, but I turned it down. I had had enough of navigating lies. I stayed where I was, on the ground, solving crimes, finding truths. Then one rainy Thursday evening, I received a letter. Not an email, a real letter. The handwriting was unmistakably Evelyn's. It wasn't desperate or manipulative, not bitter or apologetic. The letter was titled, "To the Man I Almost Deserved." "Cole," it began, "if you're reading this, it means I've finally left Clearwater for good. Don't worry, I'm not coming back. Not to ask, not to beg, and not even to explain. I've done enough damage to your life. I know that now. I've spent the last year in therapy, really in it, not the kind where you talk to feel better, but the kind that tears you open and makes you bleed truths you never wanted to say aloud. I faced myself, the selfishness, the vanity, the way I used love like currency instead of nurturing it. Damien was never really the problem. He was just the temptation I used to excuse what was broken inside me. I thought I could love you both, but the truth is I loved neither. Not really. I only loved what each of you gave me. Stability from you, passion from him. But love isn't about what you get, it's about what you give when no one's keeping score. And I failed at that spectacularly. You didn't just survive what I did to you. You transformed it. You made pain your forge. And in some twisted way, watching you do that changed me. I don't want anything from you, not even forgiveness. I just needed you to know that I finally understand what I broke, and why it was the greatest thing I ever had. Tell Lena I'm proud of her, even if she won't return my calls. I hope she grows into the kind of woman who loves like you. Goodbye, Cole. I folded the letter and stared at it for a long time. No tears, no anger, just silence. But it wasn't the silence that came after betrayal. It was the silence that followed acceptance. That weekend, I drove to Lena's apartment in the city. She had just started grad school in psychology. When I handed her the letter, she read it slowly, then looked at me. "She really wrote this?" she asked. "Every word," I replied. Lena folded it carefully and tucked it in her bookshelf without a word. Then she hugged me tighter than she had in years. A month later, a real estate agent called. She told me a small house had gone up for sale just outside Clearwater. The owner had requested she contact me before listing it. I might be interested, she said. It was the house Evelyn and I had lived in together. The one she'd begged to stay in, the one Damien had overpaid for and lost when Evelyn bought it out and left it empty. I drove out to see it. Same porch, same crooked wind chimes. But it wasn't ours anymore. It was just a shell, a memory I didn't need to chase. I declined the offer. That night, for the first time in 2 years, I slept without waking at 3 a.m. from a dream I couldn't explain. Sometimes revenge is a fire that burns your enemy. Sometimes it's a mirror that makes them face themselves. But the most powerful revenge is becoming someone they can never reach again. That was my ending. Not a clean one, not a romantic one, but a true one. Because I didn't need Evelyn to lose. I just needed me to win. And I did on my own terms.